Hello there everyone, happy Wednesday. I'm Ben Roy from WhatCulture Gaming, joined by Josh today.
Hello Ben Roy.
We've convened because Todd Howard has been on a bit of a roadshow tour, and he's been going into some details about some of his past games and recent games that they announced. I think we were both in maybe education when Starfield was announced, and now it's still got another 100 years left.
It feels about that, yeah. At least 100 years. I think it'll arrive around about the PlayStation 30, probably about this point.
Yeah. And one of the biggest details that we're going to dive into in a moment here is that it is apparently bigger, louder, and uncut. No, it's not like the South Park movie from 1999. It's apparently, 4 times bigger, 7 times bigger, 100 times bigger than Fallout 76?
A lot bigger, Ben Roy, in a bunch of different ways. So yeah, like you said, Todd Howard was at this online conference called Develop Brighton, which was hosted on behalf of Games Industry Biz, and he went into a few details on Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, essentially what engine they're using, how they're kind of using the knowledge that they've used on previous games to apply to this. But yeah, like you said, unsurprisingly, Starfield in particular is going to be much bigger than either Fallout 4 or Skyrim. They confirmed that there are around 4 to 5 times the amount of employees working on Starfield, which is ridiculous because the team was already really big to begin with. And they've gone in on, Todd Howard was kind of explaining how the world that you're going to get in both of these upcoming games will be bigger than anything they've created before. Like you said, again, 4 or 5 times bigger. But there is a kind of catch, because he did go on to say that part of the reason why the worlds are going to be so big is because they're using a lot of procedurally generated environments, which is what they did for Morrowind, if I'm correct, if I'm getting the right Elder Scrolls there. But they haven't really done that so much recently in terms of environmental creation, at least as far as I'm aware. They obviously had procedurally generated content in Fallout 4 in terms of some of the quests, but it's an interesting way to create the landscape. So in terms of sheer landmass, it's going to be bigger, partly thanks to that, but there's still going to be, the classic Bethesda authored environments that we know and love. And he also said that they're essentially doubling down on the idea of having these big cities. Obviously, Starfield is going to be this sci-fi game, so we're going to get these hub worlds, these kind of huge futuristic sci-fi cityscapes that we haven't really seen too much of in Bethesda games in the past. We've had a lot of settlements, we've had a lot of cities in terms of, the ones in Skyrim, for instance, or even the cities in Boston in Fallout 4. But it sounds like they're going to make... Yeah, exactly. But it sounds like they're going to make these areas far bigger than we've seen before, with far more areas to explore within them, rather than them being these sort of mini settlements surrounded by vast wasteland or whatever, which could be interesting.
I'm going to say I'll believe it when I see it at first, because you can sort of take it it's going to be 4 or 5 times bigger, because Fallout 76 was 4 times bigger than Skyrim.
It's a good point.
But it's also 4 times emptier than Skyrim. And I mean, that's for narrative reasons, that actually kind of works in a way, but it also doesn't make for a fun, interesting experience. As I've recently been going to and fro whether I like this game or not. Do I want to just chat to my friend in Gears 5 instead? And then Starfield is now going to be, if they say 4 times bigger than 76. Yeah. But I'm also wondering how this is going to specifically work, because when I think of Starfield, I think the only way it's probably really going to work if it's the Outer Worlds, specifically, but it has to be like that without the load times, for example. Towards the later game.
It's difficult, right? Because I'm not inherently against procedurally generated content, but like you said there, I don't want them to just go bigger, but also make the space emptier. Yeah, for no reason. My favorite open worlds aren't the biggest ones. They're not just Cause 3 or 4, whatever that is just landmass after landmass. My favorite ones, older Bethesda games, older Obsidian games. These creative environments that are densely populated and densely packed with detail and quests and things to find and stuff like that. There is a sort of argument to be had for emptiness, you know what I mean? You don't want to be constantly railroaded from one thing to another in the way that it feels like a theme park. You sometimes need the downtime, but you don't want to get to the point where it's mostly just, a bunch of different or similarly looking environments just because they wanted to pad out the world. They wanted to make it feel bigger, and nothing really feels authored and nothing really feels consequential. That's my worry. I'm looking forward to this game, but judging on Bethesda's very recent history, I'm just trying to think of a time when procedurally generated worlds worked for me personally, and they're very few, man. They're very few and far between, especially when it comes to a game like this.
Shall I be honest? The only time procedurally generated worlds have ever really worked for me that I can think of right now is Minecraft. And apart from that, because you're manipulating the world so much and you're trying to find resources and things. But I'm not sure about this. And when I hear Starfield, I feel like this entire game should be just taking place on a couple of space stations. Like, that's how I envision it. I don't envision this, like, say, rummaging around in like bushes or something. It's weird because I don't know, just since I heard Starfield, I just think it's all going to be sort of like, say, on a say, like, I think of like Doom and stuff like that when you go into one of those space stations there, or think of when you've had Outer Worlds when you're on a space station, or any other sort of like space station you can. I just think I also it's going to be hard for me to like take that in, but then obviously you're going to need to go down to planets at some point. But then again, like, you can't. Could you? I guess you could. You can. Sorry, you can procedurally generate space stations, but for me, it's never really sort of like what is being generated. Is it the shrubbery that's being generated? Is it this is going to be a slope down here? Like, say if I go from City 1 to City 2 in my game, what am I going to get differently from you in City 1 and City 2? What is like? Yeah. Is that? And also I'm trying to think. Is that saving time? Like why is that ever happening? I don't know, Josh. I'm trying to think. Like, you wouldn't get, like, say, if I'm watching a film and like halfway through, I just get a different scene compared to you. Like, I know gaming is a very different medium, but it's always confusing to me. Like, why? I'm confused right now why they feel like they need to do it.
Yeah, it's I'm sure it is just sort of like a time thing to make the worlds as big as possible. And I'm sure not everything will be procedurally generated. We're going to get these like authored cities, like you said, but it is going to be interesting to see what is different and what does change. Is it just going to be sort of like side content in terms of, you know, kind of like the Minutemen, you know, side content in Fallout 4? Is it just going to be like that stuff that changes, not only with the quests, but where you're going to pad out the game length and stuff? I'm not really sure. Big Todd, to be fair, has said very little while also revealing, you know, a couple of details. Like, he's mentioned the procedurally generated thing. He also said that the engine is being completely overhauled, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be thankful about. It's not a new engine, but he described the jump as being as big as the one from Morrowind to Oblivion, so it's going to hopefully feel like a proper next-gen leap. You know, he talked about like the new lighting, the new animations, stuff like that. Hopefully that will amend a lot of the problems that people had with Fallout 76 in particular, and Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and stuff like that beforehand, because while those games were ambitious and impressive, they were very rickety as well. So I'm hoping the creation engine you know, is absolutely better than ever and has sorted all of those issues out. Finally, he did touch on the Xbox exclusivity. Obviously, ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda, is in negotiations to be bought out by Microsoft. That deal doesn't officially conclude until, I think it's like April next year or something. It's still a little ways off. Yeah, around then, early next year. So he can't comment totally on whether or not the game is going to be exclusive to Xbox at the moment, whether or not Starfield or Elder Scrolls will be coming exclusively to Microsoft's machines, but he did confirm that both of those games will be day one on Game Pass, which is pretty big. Like, that is quite huge, and even if they're not exclusive, I think that's a big win for Microsoft, you know what I mean? That's what they've bought this company for, you know, at the end of the day.
I'm not an Xbox salesman or a Game Pass salesman, as I've sort of portrayed myself over the years. But like, you can take, say, look at the next 3 Bethesda games that are all going to be on Game Pass. You could just save that money and be like, I'll just buy an Xbox, and then I have Game Pass, then I have access to everything that Microsoft are going to put out. It's such an easy sell now. Like, I mean, you just look at, like, why would you? I'm never going to buy one of their games again. I'm sorry, like, I'm playing all their games on Xbox now. Like, there's no reason for me to buy their games on PlayStation for the sheer fact that they're all going to come to Game Pass. Yeah, and I also think that I can now believe in them a bit more, because I don't think Phil's going to go and buy out Todd, not literally, and then they're going to accept another broken, like, sort of game like 76 was, or another sort of, like, say, I'd say half step like Fallout 4 was. Like, I think with Fallout 4, just a lot of us wanted another Fallout game on the next generation, and I think they've played that card out now. I don't think they can just do that again. Yeah. So I feel like with this, and in between the anticipation for Elder Scrolls, is it 6?
6, yeah.
Yeah. I think that we've got there's a bright future coming our way for Bethesda and hopefully their games. Like I mean, the Master Chief Collection came out and it was a Berlin pile of rubbish, and it took years for them to clean up. It was a terrible disaster.
Well, that's it, Bedroy. Like,
in the sense of entertainment.
You mentioned the Master Chief Collection there. I want to hope that Microsoft would make it so that they have higher standards for like these releases, so you can't release, the Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield in a complete buggy state like Fallout 76 was. But then again, it's not like they've been a bastion of quality control in the past. It took them 4 years to finish the Master Chief Collection. Halo Infinite's been delayed infinitely. And we have no idea really what's going on with a bunch of their other studios. You do mention the future of Xbox being promising, and I do want to stress that by the sounds of Todd's comments, it is very much the far future. He said that he's not going to show off, or the team's not going to show off Starfield for a good long while yet until they've got something substantial and something close to launch. So unless, there's a miracle, I don't think we're getting this until at the very earliest, like this time next year, probably 2022, judging on how often these games get delayed,
I don't think we're getting Starfield till mid next generation. I think it's going to be one of those sort of like mid-generation games that hit and then like will define the generation for the best or the worst sort of thing. Like this is the first new Bethesda property we've had solely from them since, well, like they made Elder Scrolls, right, and then they bought Fallout, so we've not really had anything wholly original and fresh and from the ground up that people can get in and not go have older people like us going, actually you just like this sort of thing. But it's over a 7 billion purchase. I don't think that they're just going to put out trash. And I did hearken to the Master Chief Collection and the other problems of Halo. I think they stem back from before Phil, and I think that they things like that just don't get fixed overnight, do they? I feel like it's a giant oil tanker. They're trying to move the ship, and I think for now they're moving in the right way. And whether you think, like, I don't know what everyone else who watches or listens to this thinks, whether it's a good idea if their games go straight to Game Pass and if they go to Xbox. I mean, we don't know the full details yet, but it's definitely going to shake things up. And I think in an industry like this, it's always good to try and shake things up, even if it maybe goes the wrong way for a bit.
No, you're spot on, man. Like, it's very exciting times to be a video game fan, I think, and it's very exciting times to be an Xbox fan specifically, because you have all of these great studios, not just these great games to look forward to. My thing is, if I have a thing, is just, the state of Bethesda at the moment. I want them to succeed. Like, these are two of my most favorite franchises of all time. I am looking forward to, Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and I'm really looking forward to Starfield, because like you said, this is the first time they've done something that feels original in such a long time, and I feel like that game needs to be good, not only to kick off a new franchise, but to kind of say, like, look, we're the Bethesda still. We still make great games that you are going to love. Here's a brand new experience. And if they do that, I'm willing to wait for it, though I do worry about when the hell Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out if they're not even going to start on that until Starfield is done. I will be old and grey by the time Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.
Your hair will be down there.
I will. Down to the bum.
And I think with that, I think we're done with the news. I think there's no more news.
I think that's
it. The biggest news from this video is Josh is going to grow his hair to his bum and then just get rid of clothes.
Anyway, I cut until the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. That is a bargain as a deal I'm making with you right now.
Last chance to get your hair cut for a while. Anyway, I've been Ben Ray from WhatCulture Gaming. I've been joined by Josh. Josh, where can they follow you?
Josh Brune with 2 O's on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Ben Turner on Twitter and follow us at WC Gaming. I'm pretty sure that it says it's going to be up in one of these corners somewhere, so just have a look for that. Anyway, this has been the news. There's no more to do with the outro, so goodbye.
Bye.